Thank you for joining us again for another program, Transforming Lives One at a Time. We are coming to you from scenic Tobago in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm your host, Deanne, always happy to be in your company. Of course, you could check us out on all our social media platforms. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Well, for the next few minutes, my guest will be sharing her experiences dealing with this dreaded disease called cancer. In our previous program, Dr. Anthony Thompson walked us through, step by step, the various treatment plans, the do's and don'ts, and of course, giving words of advice to cancer patients. My guest today is Rhea Richardson George. No stranger to the cameras, of course, as many of you would know, as she would have been heavily involved in the media fraternity for a number of years as host of the morning talk show right here on Tobago Channel 5 and of course Tobago Updates. Rhea is also a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur. She has been encouraging scores of persons diagnosed with cancer with a touching survival testimony. She's not just a cancer survivor, but she's now thriving and fulfilling her God-given purpose. Rhea, welcome to the program, Transforming Lives One at a Time.
Thank you so much, dear.
Yes, well, Rhea, you are back in a very familiar place, just as we were talking just before.
That I am.
Yes, and in front of the cameras, and if you know, full circle.
That's right.
Well, Rhea, I know that today we'll be going back down memory lane at a time when life threw you an unexpected curveball.
You could say that again.
Firstly, I want you to walk us through from the moment you were diagnosed with cancer, your initial thoughts and reaction.
Okay, that's a very, very interesting question. And yes, down memory lane. So I had just gotten pregnant, and at that moment I did not know what was happening. I felt a tumor in the breast, did not know what was going on, what to expect, what it was. But it was not until about a few months after the pregnancy that the diagnosis or the pathology report came back, and they indicated here in Trinidad and Tobago that it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The doctors initially said, you know what, it's not quite cancer, but it has to be treated as cancer. In other words, chemotherapy. You can treat it only through chemotherapy. So we said, okay, we left it there. I went through the process. What was going to happen, I did not know. We did not know what to expect. But of course, with chemotherapy, you start losing your hair. Now, you read about these things, you hear stories about it, but when it happens to you, it's a different ball game. So that's what was happening at the time. So started losing the hair. There was initial fear, but the prognosis seemed good. It seemed good. So we were going through step by step. I just had a baby. I had two older children. They were about 9 and 7, somewhere thereabout, and then we had this baby. So it was trying to manage life, cope with life as life was happening.
Wow. Well, I can imagine just the initial, just the thought of something like that, something that you were totally unprepared for.
Definitely.
Because you're now pregnant and the joys and the expectancy.
Exactly. So it was mixed.
Yes.
The joy of having a baby, but then the fear of the unknown. What is going to happen next? We don't know.
Wow. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned chemotherapy, but apart from the treatment options, now sharing this news with family, friends, relatives. Tell us how that went.
Ooh, I think the hardest part for me was the surgery. So I had this baby C-section, and while I was under, they decided to cut the breast to take out this tumor. So I went in with two fully formed,
right,
normal looking boobs, and came out of the surgery having a baby and one, and let me put a question mark. The fear, not just the fear, but what I saw, I felt like life would have been over for me. I felt like my marriage was going to be over. I felt like my life was going to be over because I knew what I saw when I looked into the mirror.
Yes.
I remember leaving the hospital to go home a few days after I had the baby. We had the baby, and I was just in tears because I knew what I saw.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was it, life was over. I cried from the hospital, and this is the old hospital. This is not modern day Signal Hill Hospital. This is old time Fort Hospital.
Old Fort, yes.
Maternity ward. And I cried from there to Signal Hill, where my parents lived. I spent a few weeks there, and I cried. I cried every night for weeks. I cried because I knew what I saw, and I was afraid. I was afraid for my husband to see. I was afraid. But my family support, I mean, my two older children, they were still pretty young. Mm-hmm. So we didn't quite tell them what was going on. They were observing, but there was no formal discussion where this is the case.
Okay.
They just observed.
Yes.
My parents, family, friends, church support was a little different. You know, they stood with us. They were there. They were there.
Wow. That support is so very, very important.
Very important.
Because, of course, in time of high stress, obviously a robust support system would have been needed. What did that support system look like for you? That
was mommy holding on baby. That was my husband saying, look, you've had a few days, let's go for a drive. Your mommy will keep the children. Let's go for a drive. Let's do something different.
Yes.
That was a friend of mine calling me up every day to say, Rhea, how are you doing, Gail? I just called to see how you're doing. She knows herself just from that. She knows herself. She would just call out of the blue to see how I was doing.
Wow.
And there were times when I felt, she didn't need to call, I'm fine. But I appreciated those calls. You know, just how you doing? Somebody would come by, and I say to people, you know, you're going to share some support. If you see clothes to fold, shut your mouth and fold clothes.
Just fold it.
You see dishes in the sink, wash some dishes. You know, you see the place support. Don't say no. You see something to be done, do it. And that's what it felt. That's what it looked like for me. People who would come by, they would realize that there was something that was needed, because I realized there were a lot of things that I could not do.
Right.
Right. Because yes, I had surgery on one side, on the right side. So my right side was a little bit more compromised than the left.
Yes.
And so I had a baby, you know, trying to manage, trying to cope, and life was still lifing. Life was still happening at the same time.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to walk us through the kind of changes you experienced physically, emotionally, mentally. What was happening to Rhea at this point?
Mentally, let's start mentally. Mentally, there was fear. Because even though I had done surgery, I did not go for chemotherapy right away.
Okay.
For fear.
Wow.
Fear. I mean, people who would have heard, Rhea, I heard what happened. You know, my granny had that, and my granny is dead.
Yes.
Okay, that happened with my auntie, and you know, she in here again. And when you hear these kind of stories circulating, you ain't going nowhere. I went nowhere for about a year. Nowhere. So there was fear. There was an inferiority complex, because I knew what I saw in the mirror when I looked at me. And I didn't feel whole. I did not feel complete. I didn't feel like a whole woman.
Yes.
Because something that, part of me that I had grown very attached to, and that made me aware that I was a woman, had been taken away.
Yes.
And I didn't have time to grieve it. I didn't have time to cope. I didn't have time to release it. It was, I went to bed.
Yes.
I literally closed my eyes, woke up, and it was gone.
Of course.
So there was that. There was the psychological impact, where I looked around and everybody else seemed more normal than I did.
Yeah.
All right. There was seriously down memory lane.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel complete physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. I just didn't.
How about that overwhelming feeling? Did that come and go?
It definitely did. So one minute you're good,
Yes.
and then you remember this is what you had to deal with. And I can probably laugh at it now because it's been so many years.
Yes.
But even after I had surgery done, I was sharing with a group right recently that I wore a prosthesis for a number of years, even while working here at Tobago Channel 5. I wore this prosthesis, and just before I even got the prosthesis, again I could laugh at this now.
Yeah.
Before I got the prosthesis, I would look for all of my husband's soft socks.
Of course. And do the packaging.
I would package the area, just to ensure that it resembled the other.
Yes.
And I went like that for a few months before I got the prosthesis. So much so there were times when he would come and he would say, "Rhea, girl, I'm looking for my blue and white striped socks. You saw my..." And I'd be like this.
I think I know where that is.
And I'd be pulling it out, And I mean, we could laugh at it now.
Yes.
But yeah, it was definitely a time.
Wow. Well, let's talk about that word hope. And I must ask the question, did you feel that all hope was lost?
Yes. Yes. I did. And I was a Christian then. I still am. And one would have thought that I would have called on Jesus. I didn't. I felt hopeless.
Wow.
I felt that I didn't see the rainbow at the end. I wondered where the rainbow was.
Yeah.
I wondered how can anything good come of this? What good could come of this?
Yes.
I did not see it. I didn't see it possible at that time.
Wow. Because this program, Transforming Lives One at a Time, we want to bring hope. And that's why I brought you in today, because last week, as I said, we would have spoken extensively about cancer. And I just felt it fitting to bring you in, because sometimes some persons would receive a diagnosis and it's like, oh my gosh, I am ready to write my will. I am ready to, but I wanted you to come in today so that you could be able to bring some level of hope, be that inspiration, so persons could say, wow, she experienced this, and you're actually going through the traumas that you went through, to be able to encourage someone else. Because as I always would say, once there is life, there is hope.
Yeah.
And once you are alive, it means that there are possibilities. The possibilities
Definitely.
are endless. So it was not a fly-by-night thought to have you in here today.
But hope steps in. At that time, there was no hope. But as we continue the story, you'll see where hope stepped in.
Right. Well, I know we spoke about some of the treatment plans and how it impacted your body. Was it just like the hair loss or other?
Well, when they say hair loss, Deanne, they mean hair loss.
Total.
And I like to pull my glasses down and look at people and say, when they say hair loss, they mean hair loss, like everywhere that has hair.
Yes. Lost.
Okay? And that was another thing to have to deal with.
Yes.
Then you go through the process of chemotherapy and how it impacts your body.
Right.
Your nails change, the color of your nails change. It has you feeling nauseous. You feel upset if you don't take the medication just as they say.
Okay.
It impacts your body another way. So if you forget to take it during a meal and you decide to take it after, it's a whole other set of emotions and feelings, and it really was a time and a half.
Yeah, and even because I know of another we know of several persons, but I am told that your diet changes. Sometimes you would feel for something and then you take one spoon. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I was a ketchup lover. I would eat ketchup with pilau, ketchup on hot dog.
Ketchup with pilau?
Yeah. It sounds strange, but yes, ketchup. Nice hot pilau with some
Yes,
ketchup.
yes.
You know, ketchup with your fries or whatever it is, burger, whatever it is. Egg, ketchup on egg. And I remember just after whatever was prepared, you want any dressing on it? No, I just wanted everything dried. So I don't eat ketchup on egg, ketchup. I would eat a burger, no ketchup.
Really?
I would eat, yes, but I don't need, there was somehow it tasted weird in my mouth. And so the love for ketchup on foods just diminished. That sounds strange, I know. But there's some things that I let go of. There's some things that I continued eating. Some person said to me, maybe it was because I was a pork lover that I was diagnosed with breast cancer, yes.
Oh my gosh.
But, I know people who did not eat pork, did not eat meat.
And,
so it was just one of those things. But I believe that this was the lot that God had in store for me.
Wow. Well, I want to talk about, because sometimes when persons are going through traumatic situations in their lives, that sometimes they would usually be an outgoing person and they would just start to tell us about that, because I know you from years.
Yes.
And you're always outgoing, you're always involved in something, always with the young people and always involved. Tell us about that part.
So that part didn't quite change. I was still very outgoing, but I used to love to go to camp. But camp meant that I would have to be amongst other women, and that I may have to change. And that became an issue. So anywhere that I had to go, I always had to think, where would I be sleeping? Would I be comfortable sleeping there? Could I sleep without a bra? Would I be comfortable sleeping without a bra? And I had to I had all of these things to put in place. I had a checklist. Would I be? And if it didn't line up, then I would just not go. There would just be an excuse why I couldn't or wouldn't go. But otherwise, I was outgoing. I love people. I love to be in the thick of people. Anything to do with that. But when it came to overnighting somewhere, I had to stop and check. Are you going to be comfortable? Will you have your own room? Will you have to share with someone else? Would you be comfortable sharing with that person? And I have to think about all of these things.
Of course. So there was a much greater level of consciousness on your part.
And awareness on what was happening, where I was, what was going to be going on.
And who was going to be around you.
Yes.
Very well. Well, viewers, at this time, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center, Store Bay Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters and windows. Plus a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Powerlink Graphic Enterprise, Store Bay Local Road, Crown Point, Tobago, for a variety of quality printing products, including banners, posters, jerseys, flyers, and more. Graduation packages, get customized grad bags, mugs, newspapers, and the list goes on. Powerlink Graphic Enterprise, open Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. Call 269-6996. We create ideas that inspire. Hi, I am Deanne, host of Transforming Lives One at a Time, and I would like to introduce you to our brand new segment, Good Vibes, Good News. And this is where you have the opportunity to highlight your good news. You can send your 90 seconds video to our WhatsApp number 868-701-2099. That's 868-701-2099. Let's hear some of the good news that we never hear about. Good vibes, good news. Inspiring hope. Celebrating wins. Truly grateful.
Welcome back to the program. Today we are speaking with a cancer survivor. I wonder if I should just say survivor. The way she's thriving and she is maximizing and she's a survivor, but I'm feeling somehow like that is not just enough. The way you are maximizing and excelling and making impact in other people's lives. Wow, I am telling you, you are truly an inspiration. Truly an inspiration. Viewers, she is. Well, Rhea, while all of this was taking place, what kind of toll was this taking on your family, your husband, your children, and of course your other relatives, mom, dad, everybody?
Good question. So I would have to go to Trinidad every 3 weeks to do chemotherapy, which meant that mom would have to hold on the fort with the 2 older ones and the baby, because I'm off to Trinidad. My husband was working at Tech at the time, and thankfully he had an amazing manager who was very, very much aware of the situation and would allow him a couple of days. So I would go down one evening, go do chemo that day, come up the evening, he'd go back out to work, I'd take a day to recuperate, and then I would come right back to work here at Tobago Channel 5. You know, at the time, my supervisor was Cordell McClure, and I don't think he minds me calling his name because he was an amazing manager, amazing supervisor, who, you know, would liaise with Mr. and Mrs. Benoit and have everything under wraps, so I would have the time and I would, you know, be able to work and yet recuperate and keep going. But it was tough. Like I said, the 2 older ones, there was no discussion. They just observed things. So mommy would hold on the fort with the children, or my in-laws, the Georges at Lowlands, they would hold on the fort with the children. You know, between them, they would. My sister-in-law Alicia, my children call her Tita. You know,
fancy name,
Tita. The eldest at the time, she couldn't say Alicia, so she, you know, everybody tried to call him Tita. And Arnold and the family, they would have come together and really rallied to support us at that point.
That is so very important. And, you know, many times we think that we can do things alone, or we can go through challenges and problems and issues alone, but we really need somebody.
We need somebodies.
But yes. So someone that we could say, well, listen, this is a situation. Can you hold the children for the weekend? I need to, you know, and it's so important as we are building our families, for us to be able to even inculcate these kind of traits into our children, which I would always say into our next generation.
That's right.
Because whatever we are teaching them now, the values and how to be kind to others, how to empathize, how to be respectful, they will actually pass it on to their generation.
Hopefully.
Yes, well, that is the plan.
Yes.
We want to pass it on and then trust them to continue.
That's right.
To continue. Yes, so that family support always is very, very key for the success of family members. Well, I want to find out, when you initially received this diagnosis, did you see this as a death sentence, or were you optimistic about beating it?
Initially, I hoped to beat it.
Okay.
But I was very unsure because I did not know what to expect.
Right.
You hear stories, other people's stories, and mothers die and leave husbands and children behind. And I did not know what my fate would be. I was very uncertain. I wanted to hope against hope.
Okay.
Hope against hope, but I was very uncertain.
Well, did the cancer come back?
Oh,
that's the big question. That's the big question.
That's where things took another turn. So I would have checked along the way, and this is from 2005 all the way up. I would, do my usual checks. But somehow in 2015, 16, early 2016, I had just been getting some pains in the left breast, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? But I said, maybe let me just wait and observe. And I was delaying, and I think it was right here in this very studio one morning, the late Colston Edwards and I were doing a show, a Rise and Shine morning show, and one of our guests said, she was just on, and she said, if you are experiencing pain, it is a symptom that something is wrong. And Eddie was fully aware of my story, and he turned and he looked at me. I got one eye from him.
Yes.
And after the show, he said, Rhea,
you
need to go and check. You really need to go and check this thing out. So it turns out that what they saw in Trinidad was that the left side that I was getting pain on, they said it's fine, but the right side that I was not getting any pain. In fact, the right side was very numb. They said that they saw a tumor living and thriving again in the remaining tissue on the right. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I said, but no. They said yes. In fact, they took me back to test it about 3 times, and that was the confirmed diagnosis. So it had come back in the tissue of the remaining tissue on the right. But I was very fortunate to have had the opportunity of going abroad, and because I did, I had tests done, Deanne, that I never knew existed.
Wow.
So what the test revealed was that, yes, what they saw in Trinidad was correct. It was breaking back into the remaining tissue on the right, but it was also breaking into the tissue on the left. So hope against hope.
Yes.
I felt life was, if I thought life was going to be over in 2005,
right.
This time around, I don't know of anybody who has had it twice and beat it. And I felt like that was it. What do they say, punto final? I thought that was it. I did not even ask God, what is this? I was ready to give up before the fight started.
Yes.
If with a lumpectomy, which is what was described, what the first surgery was described as, after that, I felt like life was over, marriage was over. Now they're saying, we are going to have to remove both breasts.
Wow.
And I said, life over, marriage over. How do I feel like a woman again? Where is my femininity? How do I feel sexy? How do I feel attractive? Where will it come?
Yes, so many questions.
So many questions and little or no answers. So I was ready to give up before the fight started.
Wow. Well, just walk us through. You said you did another surgery abroad.
I did. Just
walk us through, because I think from my recollection, because I was having a conversation with your dad some years ago, and he was saying, yes, this surgery, the amount of hours, and they were just praying you through.
They were.
Tell us about that, and then your recovery period abroad, and then when you came back.
So the morning of the surgery, I don't think I was prepared for the number of hours. I got there for 5 o'clock in the morning. It was in Manhattan, Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan. I was staying in Queens. So we were up like about after 3 because a car was coming to pick us up. I did not know in terms of the traffic, not knowing that at that hour, the road was very clear. So
okay.
we were in Manhattan from Queens in like less than half an hour, like
right.
20, 25 minutes, somewhere there. However, the surgery, Diane, was about 16, 17 hours of surgery. That sounds crazy.
Surreal.
Right. Because what they later, in fact, what they earlier discovered, just as was during one of my pre-surgery sessions, they said, so here's what we're going to do. They gave me a whole run through. I met with the surgeon, there was a team of persons who worked on me that day. So I met with everyone. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put you to sleep. We're going to do what we're going to. And while they're talking to me about how they're going to remove the both breasts, there was the option of having silicone. And I'm thinking, silicone boobs? I'm thinking silicone. And I'm thinking, Rhea, this is not a bad thing. So I'm thinking. And then while I'm lying there, because I have on one of those hospital gowns,
yes,
and it's open to the front, and these two doctors are talking with me, and they're talking about how they're going to cut, and they're going to cut. And then because I've had 3 C-sections, I have this bit of a tummy here. So anybody who's had C-sections, you're left with not just a scar, but a bit of belly.
Yes.
That says, oh, something happened there. And they got excited. They were like, wait, hold on. You had C-sections? I said, yes, 3. And they fell in love, I have to say fell in love with this belly that I had here, Deanne, because they got excited and they asked to be excused, and they called a couple other of their colleagues to come see this belly that I had remaining after C-section.
Yes.
Then they got this bright, brilliant idea of, wait, hold up, we don't need silicone. We could use her fat, her tissue, her skin, and rebuild. So my hands are behind my head, and I'm like, oh, this is life in London.
Wow.
Go ahead, baby, talk. And they are just going on and on about them being able to use my fat, my skin, my tissue to rebuild. And I'm thinking, okay, we have a plan.
Yes.
And that's what they did. So the hours of surgery, while they were removing, they were cutting. And mind you, they knitted back veins.
What are you saying?
Blood vessels and veins to ensure blood flow. I mean, it was very precise. It was amazing. My doctor here, who had said to me initially, where you going? Where you going for? You know you have no money to go. He was very correct. I didn't have the money to go. Don't tell me, some family tell you to come and go to the States. Yeah, they did. He said, don't believe it, girl. Stay. Just go and do the surgery. But when I came back and I went to see him,
yes,
he said, let me see what they did. I was so proud. I did this and I did that. And he said, wow. He said, you never would have gotten that here.
Wow.
So
everything was just about timing. Everything was the right place at the right time.
Right place, right time. This was early winter. This was the 12th of January 2017. So I had all the pre-surgery, the appointments before, what they were going to do, what the diagnosis was. All of that happened late 2016, October, November, December. Surgery date was set for January. I did that. It was amazing because I was just because it was winter and very cold outside, they had me under a heat mat.
Okay.
And this was to ensure blood flow. So every couple hours they would come to check to ensure that blood was flowing through these veins where they had reconnected.
That is just like, that is super amazing.
Precision. It was very amazing. So I couldn't wear clothes. I couldn't wear any clothes because, I couldn't even feel I didn't even realize that my navel had moved. No, it sounds crazy.
Yes.
You could close your eyes and feel your navel.
Yes.
But I remember lying on that bed, and because I wasn't seeing my body, because I was lying flat on my back for days, I remember trying to feel my navel where I know my brain tells me it's supposed to be, not realizing that my navel had moved. Because when they had cut side to side to get the skin tissue,
yes,
to rebuild, there was I got a tummy tuck in the process.
Oh, wow.
I got a nice tummy tuck in the process. So my navel had moved, my body had changed. I had drains on both sides of the breast, drains on both sides of the waist.
Wow, you are speaking, and all I know, I received the information about the 16-hour surgery.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I am thinking, what can they be doing for 16 hours?
Yeah, removing veins and blood vessels to reconnect, again, to ensure blood flow. So to ensure that the tissue remained alive.
Yes.
So that it was blood flowing, warm to the touch, alive to see.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was a very meticulous,
intricate, yes, surgery.
Wow, this is just so amazing. Well, how many years now have you been cancer free, and do you still make occasional checks?
I do. I have to. It's been this year, wow, this year is 9 years. 9 years. Somebody say praise the Lord. 9 years, and thankful. 9 years and praising God for what He has allowed to come my way. I didn't feel hopeful before, and I wondered what good could have come of this situation. And day by day, I see God channeling me. I see God leading me. I see people, even when I was going through my own situation, I see people calling me when I felt that I needed somebody to talk with. People are asking me, Rhea, my friend is going through so-and-so. You think you could talk to her? Or this is happening to my sister. Do you think you can talk? And I found myself encouraging people when I felt that I myself needed an encourager.
Yes.
You know, but yes, I do still make my checks once a year. I pay attention to my body. The little details that one may have ignored before, I pay attention to. The simplest, I pay attention to.
Yes, of course.
You know, but yeah.
How has your diet changed in light of this? Any significant changes?
You would laugh if okay, so I have made some changes, I have. But, you know, in the Caribbean, we are told to stay away from sugars and stay away from red meats and stay away from fats and stay away. What was interesting is that just after I did surgery in the States, the most recent one, when I had to start chemotherapy, the nutritionist came, she sat with me, she said, look, you're going to start chemotherapy in a couple of weeks and we need you to be ready for it. So this is going to be a diet sheet, this is going to be a diet plan. We want you to follow it because you cannot afford to lose weight. And I said, okay. So I turned my attention to this diet sheet and I almost choked because if I usually eat one slice of cake, eat two. If I would normally grill or bake my chicken, fry.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is going
it's
on
like
here?
the opposite of...
So I froze. I was laughing even when I called my husband from the States and I said, you would never believe this. And I shared it with him. If you normally eat one scoop of ice cream, eat 2 scoops. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And it was because I needed to build calories.
Okay.
And you need to have calories to be able to, for your body to be able to fight. And so while some things changed, some things remained a bit of the same, but now, of course, there are a lot more changes. Yes. And that was because I was going through chemo at the time. I needed to have the added calories. So much so, one time I think I dropped about 1 pound. 1 pound.
Yes.
And the nutritionist came by to say, no, you cannot afford to lose any cause for concern. And I'm like,
what?
But it's what she said, it's 1 pound too many. You cannot afford to lose any. And I'm like, wow.
Wow. Okay, that was amazing. Well, at this time, we're going to take another short break and we will be right back. Stay with us.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center, Store Bay Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters and yes, windows. Plus a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at D-Cells Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Howling Graphic Enterprise, Store Bay Local Road, Crown Point, Tobago, for a variety of quality printing products, including banners, posters, jerseys, flyers, and more. graduation packages. Get customized grab bags, mugs, newspapers, and the list goes on. PowerLink Graphic Enterprise. Open Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. Call 269-6996. We create ideas that inspire.
Welcome back, viewers. Well, Rhea, I would like to find out, what has this entire ordeal done for you as an individual? Clearly, you have seen just how volatile life is.
Definitely. I've learned to appreciate the small moments, because I saw where in a snap, life could have been over. That could have been it. Like I said, I don't know of a lot of persons who've been through this twice and have survived. But the God that I serve, Deanne, the God that I serve is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all I could have asked or even thought of. I did not see this.
Yes.
I didn't see this coming, but God had a plan. He still has a plan, and that plan will be fulfilled.
Yes.
It was good, the experience, the exposure was good. I had some amazing doctors and nurses. Not once did I hear, oh, we can't find your file.
Okay.
Not once did I hear, we cannot find your file. At every point, I wanted to share very quickly, there's a band that went on my hand from the time I registered that morning for surgery.
Yes.
That had my name, my hospital ID number, the name of the hospital, etc., and the floor that I was on, which was the 15th floor for surgery. And at every point, at every step of my journey in that hospital, you could have tracked where I was because of that band on my hand.
Yes.
In fact, my husband was there that morning with me, and there was a monitor in the waiting room. And along the way, he knew where I was. He looked at the screen, my name would show up along with the hospital ID number, and he knew where I was at every point in time. When I came out, he knew when I was in recovery, he knew where I was. Wow. Anybody could have looked at that screen and say, oh, Rhea Richardson George, or she is still in surgery, because her name.
Yes.
And that tracker kept you up to date, even with when I received medication. It wouldn't be on the monitor.
Yes, of course.
But when I would be administered medication, they would use that tracker. What medication would have been administered, that tracker. When I got, in fact, down to the person, when I was in recovery, the person who was cleaning the bathroom in my hospital room, the name would be up. And there were so many little details
Wow.
that aided in my recovery
Yes.
process that it was just so amazing. We might think, well, that's not necessary, but it was, because I was treated as somebody.
Yes. Yes.
I was treated, yes, I was being cared for at this facility by these experts, but I was treated as somebody who mattered.
Yes.
So down to the right, all the way down to the person I tell you who was cleaning the bathrooms, I knew who it was, nurse or Miss So-and-so, the nurse who was in charge, I knew who it was every day.
Wow.
Because it would be on the notice board
Yes.
in my room. And I was treated as somebody.
Well, it is that is so very crucial, because I would usually say it is at these times when you are in a hospital. Remember, when you're in a hospital, you don't choose to be there,
No.
You're there because you need help.
Yeah.
And that is why it is so important for even our health practitioners, the doctors, the nurses, the wardsmen, even the cleaners,
Yeah.
to be able to empathize with persons, because you have to recognize that they are not there because they feel like coming out of their home.
No, like I have nowhere else to be. Yes.
This is the last place they want to be.
Exactly.
So you're not just there, and I'm speaking into the camera, you're not just there to collect a salary.
Yeah.
But you are there because you signed up. You said, listen, I want to help persons. I want to be able to care for persons.
Yes.
So whatever you have signed up for, I want to encourage you today. Do just that and do it with a spirit of excellence.
Yes.
Whatever you're doing, you're caring for persons, you are cleaning, you are pushing persons and widget, whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability, knowing and recognizing that these are people who don't want to be there, but they are forced to be there because of one reason or the other. And for those of you who are doing an excellent job, I encourage you, continue. Hats off to you and continue doing that excellent job. I just had to plug that in there.
I just need to throw in here very quickly, Diane, I love what you said there because that is very crucial, very, very crucial to our healthcare system.
Yes.
While I was there, they gave my husband a cot. So he would lie right next to me.
Yes.
And he stayed with me about 3 or 4 days. He brought clothes, but they even gave him a nice little care package.
Wow.
A care packet that had deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. He had his own.
Yes.
But they gave him because they said, look, you have been here and you're going to be staying with her, right? Yes. And they made his stay just as comfortable, almost as comfortable as mine. And then I realized, the importance of that support while in hospital.
Yes.
I recovered faster.
Of course, because you were comfortable.
I was comfortable. Who I loved most was there with me, and there was no restriction on visiting hours. And I'm not knocking our system. I'm saying here, we need to make some allowances. We need to understand the bigger picture.
True.
Yes, these are the rules. But let us look at how including family members, them assisting, them being there, having that support, how it aids the patient in recuperating and recovering faster.
Of course. And what you said is very vital because it means that if it is that they offer this care package, it means that some level of thought was put into it.
Definitely.
They came to the realization, okay, we have patients here, they're going to have
loved ones coming to visit.
And we have to put into thought that they may not remember to walk with something. Let us consider. Yeah. And we need people who would have that kind of mind, kind of initiative to come up with these practical things that would show how much we care.
Yes.
It would show that, and of course, the recovery time is always shorter.
Definitely.
Because, we were talking during the break about like your travels, like when you, not even just when you were coming back, but your travels now in terms of wheelchair and that kind of thing. Talk about that.
So now that it's been 9 years, thank God. I always have to say thank God.
Yes.
It's been 9 years. And when I travel, once I travel outside of Trinidad and Tobago, I travel wheelchair. And I know for persons who see me walking around, they say, but Rhea was just walking. I saw her in Scarborough, she was walking. Nothing is wrong with her legs. No, nothing is wrong with my legs.
Yes.
But my body is still compromised. So I would have had lymph nodes removed, which render my arms a little less strengthened.
Yes.
All right. And because of that, I cannot pull my luggage. So I go wheelchair, and the wheelchair service, it's not just for persons who cannot walk. And let's get it straight here today, okay? Let's break some mindsets and some misconceptions. So the wheelchair facility, the wheelchair service that is offered through our carriers or air carriers is not just for persons who cannot walk.
Okay.
If you are in any way compromised, and that is whether you can pull or you are senior, and we have some seniors who a little biggish,
Yes.
And they say, no, I can't see too good, but I'm not taking the wheelchair. Take the wheelchair. Come on. All right. And you have expert handlers who wheel you in. They take your baggage, they assist. And airport staff, I'll tell you, we have some really amazing airport staff. I have never had a bad experience with any one of them. They've always been kind and courteous. I'm talking Caribbean Airlines.
Yes, right here.
Giving them a plug.
Yes,
anyway,
yes,
right
yes.
here.
Plug
right
to Caribbean
here,
Airlines.
Right here. They have been exceptional. So I'm saying here, I use that service because it is offered and it saves me having to pull and use further damage my arms or compromise my arms.
And that's understood. And again, if someone, it's a service that is provided.
Yeah.
And if someone feels that they would like to use that service, really, that's a decision, that's a personal decision.
You think, but you know, persons ask me these questions in public.
Yeah.
So I'm on the wheelchair and I'm but Rhea,
you were just walking.
what are you doing on a wheelchair? And sometimes I find myself having to defend or explain, and I shouldn't have to.
Right.
But I realize it really is our mindset. So we figure because she can walk, she doesn't need a wheelchair, but there are other reasons why persons use this. So I'm saying here, it's a service that is offered, and I will use it.
Of course.
Until I no longer need to use it.
And of course for anyone else, because you never know what a person is dealing with.
That's right.
It's not like they have a placard to say, well, okay, I just did surgery, or
I just did surgery.
Right.
I need to use I'm on a wheelchair because I just did no.
So we are saying, give it a rest, people.
Yeah.
If persons want to use the wheelchair assistance, let them do it.
Yes.
Okay? So please, simmer down a bit. Well, Rhea, I want to find out, as we begin to bring the curtains down, what would you say kept you fighting relentlessly?
Purpose.
Okay.
Purpose. Many years ago, this was now 2005. 2005. This was just after the first diagnosis.
Yes.
I remember receiving a word from God that my calling would preserve my life. I didn't understand it then. This was between the first diagnosis and the second.
Wow.
I didn't understand it then until the second diagnosis that my calling would preserve my life. God had purpose on my life. So no matter what happens and what comes my way, I know this ain't it.
Right.
This is not the end of it.
So you had the confidence.
The confidence, because the same God that was able to take me to the US, allow me to have surgery done, allow me to have chemotherapy done, allow me to have, let me say, insurance there.
Wow.
Let me tell you, God had a plan. God had a plan, and God opened doors that I never knew possible.
Wow. Well, that is so amazing, Rhea. As we begin to wrap up the program, what is one thing you would like to resonate with our viewers about this entire experience?
That God is good. In spite of what we see, we don't always know the end. We see the beginning of a story, and we give up before the fight. We give up. But God has an expected and a good end. Before Rhea was formed in her mother's womb, God had a plan. And it was a plan towards a good and an expected end. And I really thank God for it. The way things end is not always how they start. Sometimes they start off pretty rough and rocky.
Yes.
But God has an expected end, a good end.
Yes. Well, finally, Rhea, I want you to speak into the camera. I want you to speak to that individual today who just received the news that they have cancer. And of course, speak to that person as well who has been battling the disease and just at the point of giving up. Speak to those two persons today.
Yeah. Don't give up. Don't give up. The road would seem very rough and very rocky, but God. My mother-in-law used to say, but God. Everything, Rhea, so bad, but God. And I still say, but God today. But God. It may not look like what you expect it to look like. It may be very rough, very tough, very painful. But God, trust Him in the process. Trust Him through the process. We love to say the joy of the Lord is our strength. And sometimes it's difficult to shout praises and to shout and be happy when you're going through a rough time.
Yes.
But God has a purpose in it. Now you can choose to be sad and sulky through the process, or you could choose to be joyful and happy through the process. I'd rather choose joy through the process. All right? So, and to that person who is going through, don't give up. Everything they told me to eat, I ate. Everything they told me to drink, I drank. And then some. And then some. But trust God through your process. And God is going to surround you with the right people. And God is going to open doors that you never thought imaginable.
Well, Rhea, thank you so much. I want to thank you for taking the time off. And I know this was not an easy interview for you because it would have been going back down to memory lane. Sometimes we don't want to go back down to memory lane because some of the areas would have been so traumatic. But you braved the weather.
I did.
You did. Literally as well, because I know it's raining on the outside.
Yes.
But you braved the weather, and I want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I want to thank you for coming and being a part of this program today, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Yes, well, I know. This was definitely a difficult time for Rhea, as she indicated, but you know what? She came out triumphantly because she believed in her God and He brought her out. So persons, I want to tell you today, encourage you. Once there is life, there is hope. Yes, you may be going through a rough time. You may be going through a rough patch. You just received a diagnosis. It may not be of cancer, but something else, some other bad news. There is always hope. So don't give up. All right? Don't give up. Well, viewers, that's how we leave it for today. Those of you who may be faced with whatever challenges, I want to encourage you to keep fighting. Keep fighting. Don't you dare give up. As has become customary, I leave you with the definition of transformation, which is an internal shift that brings us into alignment with our fullest potential. Hey, we've got this. See you next time.